we're so happy that Antonella Diaz with Latino Academy of Workforce Development is able to be with us this morning. And we're going to hand over the controls and let her take it right away. All right, Antonella, you should be able to grab to do some screen sharing.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll just introduce myself really briefly. Thank you all so much for being here and for being willing to come learn a little bit more about artificial intelligence. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. I know it can be very daunting and seem very distant. So I'm really excited to give you all a very brief and basic introduction to what artificial intelligence is. A little bit about myself. I am Antonella Diaz, as Beth said. Thank you so much, Beth, for having me. I am a recent graduate of Grinnell College. I graduated with a political science degree and license in education. And artificial intelligence kind of came into my circle because I'm surrounded by computer scientists in my friend group, and they just have done a lot of great things to teach me. So all of this to say that I am by no means an expert, but somebody who uses this tool on a daily basis and has used it to make my life a lot easier in the workplace and in my personal life. And so I'm just hoping to share some of these tools with you to do the same for you. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen and hoping that you'll be able to see it. All right. Is everyone able to see the screen right now? Awesome.
It looks
Thank you.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw some very synchronized nods. Thank you so much for that. So what is artificial intelligence? This is one of the main questions that we are going to be talking about in this presentation and how it works. For some of you, this might be the first time you ever learn about artificial intelligence, and for others, you might be like me and you use it on a daily basis, but I just want to give you some examples of how you can use it in the workplace as well to make your life easier. So let's go ahead and get started. So artificial intelligence, what it's supposed to do is to simulate human intelligence in computer systems. So it seeks to replicate or mimic cognitive functions associated with human intelligence. It is not meant to replace human creativity, which is one of the things that I frequently get asked, but rather to facilitate the way that our thinking gets then translated into something more tangible. This means that creating computer systems or machines with artificial intelligence results in computers that can perform tasks and make decisions in a manner that is closely resembling that of human decision-making process. And what I will do is pull up a couple examples of what this looks like. So the one that I use every day is Chat GPT. And if I could just get a hands up moment or a thumbs up moment to know how many of you have used this before, that would be super helpful. Awesome. Okay, so I'm seeing a couple of thumbs ups. Great. So one of the fantastic things about ChatGPT is that it is meant to be intuitive, but it's also has all the built-in material in order to help people who have never used it learn how to use it. So you could say things like, "Hi, what is this?" And then, oh, see, it's confused. "What are you?" There you go. So it can give you some explanation of what ChatGPT is. You can ask further questions about what the functions are. And this is great when you have students that you are just starting to expose to ChatGPT. We work with an adult population and we're considering including ChatGPT as one of our services. I'll show you that later, but this is helpful in that it can help a particular student learn how to navigate the platform on their own and learn what artificial intelligence is in the first place. So I have already prepared a couple of examples that I want to show you of how I use this in the workplace. And I am going to walk you through those now, but if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat or any clarifications that you want about ChatGPT. I can absolutely pause at any moment to be helpful to you. Okay, So we recently hired a person who has never filled out a W-9 form and a 1099 form. So they don't actually know what those forms are. So the prompt that I put in is write an explanation of what these two forms are. And in a matter of 3 seconds, this explanation was written for me. Then I decided that I wanted to add a more personalized introduction to it. So I said, this is for the purpose of explaining to Laura, which is the employee, what we use them for. And she's coming on as an ESL teacher and a contractor. So another cool thing about ChatGPT is that if you're in a rush and you make a lot of spelling mistakes like I typically do, that's not going to be a hindrance in your ability to get accurate results. So for a student who is,
Antonella,
yeah,
excuse me, would it be possible to make the text a little bit bigger?
absolutely. Is that better?
Thank you. I think so. Our person. Yep, I think that's fine.
Okay, great. So here is my phenomenal spelling mistake. You could really make much more severe mistakes, and the system is trained to be able to still provide results even if you make grammatical mistakes, spelling errors. So this is great for somebody who is an English language learner. If you're trying to get them to interact or have conversations via text through artificial intelligence, they will be able to have these spelling mistakes and still receive a good answer. So once I created this specific prompt that I wanted it to be sent to Laura, it added an introduction that is specific to her as the person that we are hiring and is just more personalized. So all of these things are things that I could have absolutely written myself and taken the time to do, but I put in the prompt and was able to send this to Laura in a matter of 5 minutes after our discussion. So again, the purpose of this tool is really to make the use of your time more effective and more efficient, and for you to be able to collect information in a quicker basis. So you could think of this as a Google search, but instead of having to look through all of the tabs in order to receive the information, you immediately get a well-rounded answer based on all of that information. So this system has information uploaded onto it, and based on that, it narrows down the most accessible or the most efficient answer. Now, there are things called ChatGPT hallucinations. So hallucinations are when this artificial intelligence system creates things that are made up or that don't quite make sense. As this technology evolves, these hallucinations are becoming more and more rare. But when dealing with matters of making sure that the information is accurate, one of the ways that I tend to check this is by simply putting in the prompt, can you double check that this information is accurate and real? And if it's not, it will confess to its hallucination and let you know and rewrite something that is accurate. But that is just something that I wanted to give you a heads up about. So let's look at a couple other examples. Let's see. So, for example, we are opening up a couple new job positions for the Latino Academy, which is the organization that I work for. We have a particular way that we want these job descriptions to look. And so here's the document that I put in there with the exact template and the tone and language that we want all of our job descriptions to look. And it is very time consuming to write job descriptions. So what I've done is just uploaded this document and requested that the system provide an ESL coordinator position description, but keeping the same exact format as the one I'm sending over. So based on what I sent over, it gave me the job description in the same exact format. It is completely accurate. These are the exact headers that we have in our outline, but it doesn't really help me that it is just pasted onto this chat. Sure, I could copy paste it myself using this little clipboard and put it in my own Google document, but that also feels like an extra step that I don't want to do. So instead, you can request that things be sent to you as a document that you can then download. And then you have your ESL job description shared with you, which for some reason right now is not opening, but that's not AI's fault. That will be my computer feeling like it's not ready to wake up yet. A couple other things that I use this for on a daily basis is writing emails. So sometimes I feel like I know exactly what I want to say to a candidate that we are perhaps not moving forward with, but I don't have the time to make it as empathetic and as warm as I want it to be. So I request help in order to get this email sent. So let's see. So write a message who was rejected for this position. Don't give a specific reason why. And so here's a respectful, considerate message to a candidate who was not selected for the employment coordinator position. Here is the email that was drafted by artificial intelligence. And then based on this, I can make any changes that I want. So for example, here is the company's name. I want you to incorporate it. The most difficult part of artificial intelligence is learning how to do prompt generation, which is this communication that you have on your end with the artificial intelligence platform. When I first started, I would say things like, "Hey, how are you? Can you please?" And my friends would laugh at me and say like, "Oh my gosh, you are wasting your time. This is a robot. This is a computer." So it's okay if you have a tendency to do those things. ChatGPT will likely reply by saying, "Oh, thank you so much for being so kind." The same thing goes if you yell at it, which maybe we should do just for fun. "Why are you so mean?" Just so you know that these are things that you can do. I'm really sorry if I came across as mean. So one of the really cool things about ChatGPT as well is that it has filters for information that may seem inappropriate, for information that may pull up a red flag that that person is wanting to harm themselves. And it will follow up with that person by handing them resources that might be useful to them, or it might say, you know, I can't help you complete this task because it is inappropriate. So for example, help me Photoshop this document so it appears as though I have already completed high school, or that help me Photoshop this Harvard diploma so that it appears that I graduated from Harvard. These are things that the system will not do, and it'll get flagged. And the same thing goes if a person were to type in, you know, I'm really struggling, I'm not feeling well, I'm having suicidal ideations. The system will set up an alarm to send information back to that person that might be relevant. So this is another great tool if we're having it interact with clients or students. So that was a long one because it is the one that I consider most useful on a daily basis, but I'll show you another fun one really quickly. This is called Adobe Firefly. Oh, maybe it's gonna ask me to log in, which might take too long. I can send you this link. Let's see. But this is an image generator. So if you are working with a marketing campaign that you need help with, of course, graphic designers will most likely always do a better job than these AI generators. But if you're in a pinch, this is a good way to get something done quickly. So here is the image generator. So I could say, give me a photo of a person with red hair eating a burger. So it'll generate the image based on the prompt that I put in there, and that image will be unique. So even if any person in this room decided to put in the exact same prompt, they would not be getting the same image.
Excuse me, Antonella.
Yeah.
There is a question. Can you ask the chatbot to write the response at a particular reading level?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is a great question. So ChatGPT is multilingual as well. So you could say, write create a worksheet for my students where they have to read a story and answer 3 questions. So that would be my first prompt. Here is the story that it is generating in that very second, and the questions will come later, just so we can walk through this process together. Okay. My student is just learning English. Please simplify the story, wording, and length. So there you go. You will get it shorter and simpler, and it'll be the same exact story so that you can give the assignment to multiple students, multiple kids. You can say, rewrite the story in Spanish, but have some words in English so that my student can begin to pick up new vocabulary. So really your possibilities are endless when it comes to what you can do with the prompting. Oh, the Wi-Fi didn't want to help this one. There we go. So here it is, same exact story, but in Spanish. So for example, here I had asked it to rewrite the story, but have some words in English. And I can see that the words in English did not get added. So I can say, where are the words in English I asked you to add to the story? So it'll say, I'm sorry for the, and it'll start to have those. En una pequeña city. So there you get a story in Spanglish to help your students out. Cassie, I don't know if that answers that person's question or if I can do more to be helpful.
I think that was great. Also, there was a question or a comment. So it looks like you could have AI just making an entire curriculum for you.
Absolutely, you can. And you can have it be sent to you as a document so that you can download it. I have used it for curriculum building, and I will say that it is phenomenal. But the idea generation typically still needs to come from the educator. So I wouldn't say create a curriculum but for my American history class on the Constitution, because it might be quite vague. And what I'm trying to get at is a very detailed curriculum. So instead, what I would say is I would give all my brainstorming and say, help me actualize this or help me create a document. So for example, we can try that actually so we can see the difference. So write let's see, a 3-day lesson on the Constitution for my 8th grade students. So first it kind of gives this little intro to saying, oh, it might be hard, but here's my attempt. So students will understand the historical context of the Constitution, including why it was written and its foundational principles. So it will give you what it considers to be the most important things that should be covered in that lesson, but it won't give you details. So you could say create separate documents, one for each lesson day, with a scaffolded plan for what I should teach. And then you could say things like recommend material for me to share. one of the things about ChatGPT that I'll introduce is that you don't have to wait for it to stop typing. Sometimes if you already see that the answer is giving you is irrelevant or it's not helpful, you can perhaps not so kindly shut it up, but that's okay. Remember, it's a computer. You can apologize to it later if you want.
Can
But
it-
here, yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. Can it generate languages with non-Roman alphabets?
I've never tried, but we can see that right now.
Mhm.
Right, and it's gonna give me the documents. I just want to show you how it generates documents, and then we can try the Arabic, or we can go back to the story that we had. Do the same for an Arabic speaker. There you go.
Gosh.
I can't confirm that this is right or wrong, but it's there. And this is also something that I'm assuming because of the special characters would be very difficult to copy paste. And so this is one time where I would also recommend downloading things as documents so that you can keep the formatting accurate. So going back
And
to where, yeah.
Carolyn had a question. Can you specify that it go to a Microsoft Word document?
Yeah, send this to me as a Microsoft Word document. Actually, I'll leave the spelling incorrect just so you see that it also is able to move past that. It won't get angry at you like an English teacher. So generating documents typically takes longer, but it is definitely something that it is able to do. While that loads, I will also show you the images that we generated with our last prompt of give me a photo of a person with red hair eating a burger. So again, I put this prompt into the image generator. And if any person in this session were to put in this exact same prompt, they would never get the same images that I'm getting. So that's what's cool about this program is that whatever image you generate based on your prompts is your own unique product. And that is what allows you to use it for your own purposes. And you can get creative on whether you want a photo or whether you want art. So if you want art, you can say, give me a photo or a drawing of a purple airplane flying through cotton candy. So you can really get creative with it. And this is a cool way of getting kids to really unleash their creativity, or a really nice way to help you get some visuals for any digital marketing campaigns. So here is the result. And once again, this will be a unique result. So let's go back. Yeah.
I'm sorry, another question. Could you describe how much time you typically spend going through the results from ChatGPT and then adapting or customizing them to meet your student or your programming specific needs?
It's hard to say. Sometimes it gets it right on the first try, and I'm like, oh, this is the most wonderful thing I've ever seen. And sometimes I do get tempted to yell at ChatGPT and write in all caps and say, like, you're not getting me. In fact, I've said things like, you are not understanding what I want. So you're allowed to yell at it and it'll help you. It's perhaps not the most efficient way, but it will then try to generate a new result. But this is something that I saw very frequently with my students when they were trying to create a code that would help them with a spreadsheet and the code wasn't acting the way that they wanted it to. And they would say something like that. But really what that means, if you're not getting what you are desiring, is that the prompt needs some adapting. So you either need to be more specific with your prompt or you need to separate your prompt into different pieces. Or one thing that sometimes happens is that you ask for something to be added and the thing above gets overlooked. So you might say, once you start a chat, I am going to give you instructions. Wow, I'm still yelling at it. I'm sorry. I am going to give you instructions. Please build off each. So that is going to be a cue to the AI generator that it needs to not only respond to the new prompts that you're giving, but also keep track of what you have asked for in the past.
Excellent. And then is there a way to distinguish a Chat GPT essay from one the student actually wrote?
So I have an interesting or perhaps a different perspective on this. I don't consider ChatGPT to be cheating. And of course, if the student went in and said, write me an essay about George Washington. See, I didn't even spell George right. I'm sorry, George. Then obviously they didn't do any work of their own. But if they did the research on their own and they had an outline for themselves and they were collecting the quotes, then if it's just a matter of correcting grammatical errors or making the ideas sound better, I would say that that is original work of the students. Now, I know we could have a debate about this forever. There are some ChatGPT plagiarism checkers. None of them work very effectively. And my personal view is that this is a tool that we won't be able to run away from and that will become more and more common. And so I always try to encourage my kids to use it as a tool rather than as a crutch and learn how to use it to expand their creativity rather than just use it instead of their creativity. But this is a huge ongoing debate in the world of education, so we could talk about this forever. But yes, there are plagiarism checkers, not through ChatGPT itself, but you can find separate extension branches that I can send to Beth to then share with you after this. All right. Any other questions, Cassie, before I move on?
It looks like that's it for now.
Okay, great. So let's go back to our presentation really quickly. So AI is data driven, so it learns from extensive and advanced data sets. There are plenty of data sets that have already been uploaded to ChatGPT in order to have it generate accurate and helpful answers. That being said, if you have your own organization, so for example, this is my own ChatGPT profile. And I work for the Latino Academy, so I want to make sure that it always aligns with the values of the Latino Academy. So what I could do is add in custom instructions, and I did that again by clicking my name, clicking custom instructions, and then what would you like chat to know about you to provide better responses? Here, I can upload information about the mission statement and the values of the Latino Academy. And what that does is that every single time a response is generated, it will ensure that the responses align with the mission and the value statement of the Latino Academy. So it will never generate something that goes against its mission or value statement. And this is great if you are creating emails, if you're writing grants, if you're writing contracts, and you want to make sure that they have a certain tone to them or a certain value that they focus on. This is a way to make sure that it has those as standard rules. If you are working with students, for example, and you want to avoid those essay styles or essay long answers, or you want them to or you want artificial intelligence to not be able to send out essays, you can change these instructions for how would you like to ChatGPT to respond, and say a maximum of 1 sentence. And then this will be set as a rule that now ChatGPT has to follow. Write an essay about George Washington. Sometimes it takes a bit to load. Okay, so that's the new rule. The new rule is that it can only respond to you in 1 sentence, which means that the student will never get an essay. This is a trick that you can keep to yourself and not tell your students if you want them to use your platform and use it as a way to still guide them against using it for plagiarism or for cheating. So again, click on your name once you've created your own profile and click on custom instructions. Here is where you can set the rules for how you want ChatGPT to respond. And here's where you would put your mission statement or your value statement if you want things to know, if you want ChatGPT to know how to align its answers. I don't know if that generated any questions, Cassie, but feel free to interrupt at any point.
Just that's a great tip.
That is, I know, right? Don't tell your students though, because then they'll go in and change that up, but that is helpful. You could also make it so that the rule, for example, what I've done is set a rule that anytime ChatGPT responds, it will have the Spanish version above and the English version above. And that is what I would do with my ESL students, just to ensure that they have access to both languages. Or I might say, respond always in English, but be ready for a student to type in help and then translate the answer. So you can really get super specific with how you want those instructions to be.
Antonella, does the system show that your student actually used GPT chat or ChatGPT at a certain time?
I don't think it has time markings, no. It does not have time markings. It only has the day, but you are not able to access time, I believe. Yeah, I've never been able to do that.
Oh, great, thank you.
So this is a new feature that got added, a team or a workspace. This is something that was just recently developed for artificial intelligence. Sometimes I've seen teachers use this, and I believe that when you establish a team, then you can see the time markings. But I can do some research and get back to you on that. Or even let's do this. Can I see time markings on Chat GPT? I want to know when my student was accessing the platform. Okay, so no. So this is another cool thing about ChatGPT, is that it is planned so that you never have to access an external resource in order to understand how it works. You should be able to ask clarifying questions directly to the platform in order to get a sense of its functionings and what it can provide for you. If you have an Excel sheet, for example, that you want to code so that anytime a phone number gets inputted, you always want it to be in the setting of if you always want it to be in this format and you want to create a code that generates that, so that anytime you input a phone number into your Excel sheet, it will always get changed into this format. There's a way to do that directly on Google Spreadsheet, but because I am not Excel savvy, what I would do is write a code to ensure that any number added to my spreadsheet gets changed to this format. Yeah, so it's telling me you can do this already directly from Excel sheet, or from Google Sheets. So here is the explanation of how I can do this without having to generate a code. It will tell me exactly what kind of functions I need to click on. But if it's saying, if you still want the code, here it is.
Wonderful. And then question on the cost. for Chat GPT and Adobe Firefly.
So there are different levels of ChatGPT. ChatGPT 3.5 is completely free, and you can ask it questions and you can have it answer prompts. ChatGPT 4 is $20 a month fee, and this is the added levels are quite worth it, I would say, because it is what allows you to generate documents and receive them. So what is different? What is the difference between Chat GPT 3 and 4? Oh, see, it's still answering in one sentence. So I'm going to change that really quick because otherwise I won't be able to get the list. List of added functions is what I can say. All right, so multilingual capabilities, nuance prompt. Oh, it's still giving me. It hasn't had a chance to adapt from the changed instructions. So probably something I'm here just learning with you is that once you change the instructions, you most likely need to start a new chat in order for those new instructions to be followed. It does keep a history of every single time you have used this. You can delete it, but it is nice if you have different things going on. So if you have the story for one class going on and a code for your Excel sheet going on, you can keep those ideas separate. So here is something else that is cool about the paid version of ChatGPT is that you can explore GPTs. So there's kind of like a GPT market of coders or people who have spent time designing their own added layers to this ChatGPT bonus. So there are a lot of extras that you can look at in order to get even more specific with your needs. So for example, if you are a college student and you need access to peer-reviewed, reliable sources, you might use a tool like Consensus. So Consensus is a ChatGPT, but it has an added layer of code. And that added layer of code is access to more database that allows you to look at peer-reviewed journals. So the generic ChatGPT will not allow you to see peer-reviewed journals, but this Consensus, which is again viewed in the GPT market, does allow you to access these journals. So give me a list of peer-reviewed journals about artificial intelligence in education. Okay, so I need to set up some permissions. It's starting the action, starting to do some research. And then hopefully it has forgotten the one sentence rule by now, and it will actually give me a list of peer-reviewed journals. And so if you ever fear that it is stuck and that it is frozen, you can always look at this bubble. If this bubble is still a square in the middle, it means it's still thinking, it's still generating. So it's not frozen.
And just one question, Meta AI. I have Meta AI on my phone. Is that the same as Chat GPT?
So it's not the same. This is kind of like a specific company that was intended to make education accessible via artificial intelligence. And then they have, there are different branches of artificial intelligence that have been added on. So ChatGPT is just the most accessible way of accessing artificial intelligence, but there are many, many platforms that allow for people to interact with artificial intelligence. There are some that are specific for generating worksheets or for educators. I don't remember the name of them off the top of my head, but I have them in a list and I can send those to Beth so that they can be shared with you.
Wonderful.
So again, Yeah.
And then just one back step, how did you get to the Chat GPT market?
Mhm.
Just missed
Absolutely.
that step.
Yes, absolutely. So when you want to start a generic chat, you would click Chat GPT and this little pencil and paper. So then you get the option to a new chat. And this is how you chat with a generic GPT. If you want to explore the extensions or GPTs with that added layer of code, you can look at Explore GPTs. If you can see these two that have already been added to my menu bar, they've been added there because they're ones that I have already visited. But if you want to access the whole list of GPTs, you would click Explore. Again, this is one thing that is only accessible to people who have paid the $20 membership. So if you click Explore, you have an endless amount of GPTs that you can access. They all have different functions. So you can go for writing, productivity, research, and all of these are ones that have been reviewed and qualified as well-functioning, accessible, and useful. So you won't get, for example, this is a program that I created. It's called Anaí. You won't get that here because it hasn't been peer reviewed. It's also my private GPT, so I haven't released it to the public, and it also hasn't been reviewed for quality, right? So here are all the GPTs that you can access. One cool one that I typically use, for example, when talking to immigrants who are in the program at the Latino Academy, is USCIS GPT. So this is one that deals with immigration services. It is one that has a database of all the laws and regulations that the US currently has in place in terms of regulations. So here it has a couple of prompts that it is ready to answer, but you can ask it any question. So what are the requirements for a US visa, for example? And it'll give you specific answers. ChatGPT uses people's answers to develop better understandings of the kinds of patterns that people want. But from my understanding, all the information is still secure and confidential and will not be released, which is why it is safe for immigrants. But again, if you ever have a question about the functionality of a GPT specific, you can ask it. So how do you keep my wow, my spelling is great. Information safe as an immigrant. So it does not handle or store my personal information. So here are some things that it will generate to just share what kind of information it is keeping in order to keep learning, but it is not storing your personal information. Any questions on that, Cassie?
I think we're all caught up.
All right, great. So I don't want to take all your morning, so I will just quickly close by showing you something that I have been working on, just so that you can see what you can do on your own if you want to create a specific GPT for your organization. So the same way that you can explore GPTs that people have been creating, you can also create your own. So I would click here and click create. The way you create this is, again, by chatting with it and giving prompts. So, hi, I want to create a GPT to help my students practice English. So every time you give a prompt, what it does is update the GPT. And what that means is that it is updating the background of this tool and adapting it to configure it the way that you want it to be configured. So I will show you the way this looks, because I know sometimes a lot of times this feels just like words, and I want to make sure that it makes sense. So once I have given the instruction through create by chatting with it, I can go to the background of this GPT extension where it says configure. And then these are the instructions that have been added for how the platform is supposed to work just based on that one prompt that I gave it. So the more you chat with it, the more prompts you add, the more specific these background instructions get so that you are able to arrive at the platform that you are happy with. If you
And
aren't,
I'm sorry, a question.
yeah,
Will it update laws and information to the most recent revisions in the USCIS?
for USCIS, I don't know, but I bet it knows. When were you last updated?
Antonella, is is this like monitored by the government, or how, like, what is the who who makes sure the information is real and legitimate for just for this for USCIS?
This is a great question. I unfortunately don't know the answer, but I can absolutely check. Not monitored by the government, not directly affiliated with USCIS. The accuracy and reliability of the information are ensured through the careful selection and verification of sources by my developers. So I guess that definitely means that they could be there could be hallucinations or errors. Again, artificial intelligence is designed to try to give you the most accurate and the most truthful version of the data. It will never be purposefully lying to you or giving you inaccurate information. But again, those hallucinations do happen, and there is a possibility of having incorrect information be shared.
That's
And I
super helpful. Thank you so much, Antonella. So would it be fair to say, like, maybe in the case of USCIS, so immigration or something, you might just want to use the actual government website? Like, so is it fair to say kind of to selectively choose your GPT, or what?
So I actually prefer USCIS GPT over the government website. I know that the government information is exactly put onto this USCIS. I personally, as somebody who has navigated that government website, know that it doesn't feel super accessible, and sometimes links are hard to find. So what I can also say is find me information about green cards on the official USCIS website. Link. If you feel like you want to double check the information, what it can do is give you the actual link for you to click. So sometimes what I've found is that USCIS, the website, is difficult in terms of just even accessing the correct tab. So what I will do is say, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Help me find the right link. And then here's the official government site, and here is the green card section. And
I
here is all
love
the
that.
government
I love
process.
that idea. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because I think it's yeah, I love that because I'd want to caution folks to make sure you're using maybe the government site, but I agree with you as someone who's used it a lot. It's not super user friendly. So I love
Yeah.
that this is a way to easily find what you want on
Yeah,
that
I
site.
mean,
Thank you for sharing
yeah,
that tip.
absolutely. I would never say to use USCIS as a replacement of double checking with the government site or as a replacement of accessing a lawyer. I just know the reality of
Mhm.
fees that lawyers typically give off, and I know that that's not very accessible to many of us. And so this is just a good starting spot to get access to that information.
Yeah, I love that, to like show me. Yeah, and I think that could be for a lot of websites, like show me
Yeah,
exactly where to find this. Thank you. That's a great tip.
yeah,
and
absolutely. Thank you for the question.
and it does say, if you notice at the bottom, it does say check important information. So great tip there, Antonella. Is there an extra cost for Adobe Firefly with the Chat GP
I
for subscription?
I'm not sure. I believe not. I believe the only extra cost is the monthly subscription for the GPT. But again, if there are questions that I wasn't able to answer during this presentation, you can please put them in the chat, and I will send all that information to Beth so that you have all the clarifications that you need. All right. So once you've created your own GPT, this is kind of what you arrive at. So I created something called ANAI, which stands for Apoyo para Nuevos Aprendices de Inglés. So again, it is a platform that is designed to help ESL learners or ELL learners get access to ways to practice their English when we don't have capacity to fit them into our classes. So as you know, many times ESL classes are packed, and so this is a way to provide something in between so that students and adult learners can have access to practice still. So as I said, you can configure the GPT by having a conversation with it and telling it exactly what you want. Another way to configure it is by creating if-then statements. I personally find that if-then statements are easier because they are much more specific, and so the tool doesn't get as confused and gives less generic information. And the way that I came up with these if-then statements is by returning to the regular GPT and explaining everything I wanted and saying, give me the top most important if-then statements that you would include in the configuration of this GPT in order for it to function well. So again, when I'm building a GPT, when I'm trying to access this information, I never feel like I have to leave this platform in order to get answers about how it works or how it functions. That being said, sometimes it is still in our nature to want to Google how to use a particular function, but really the only place that you need to be asking questions is within the platform itself in order to get it to answer or help guide you. I think that is pretty much all I wanted to share with you. I'm gonna kind of abandon the slides because I feel like we've covered a lot more than the slides initially anticipated. And so I'm just gonna open up the floor for any last questions that you may have.
Yeah, feel free to write in the chat or unmute. Antonella, thank you so much. It was just amazing to be able to see these tools in action and at the same time have the ability to ask questions. So thank you. We do
Very
have one. Oh yeah, Cassie. Yep.
Okay. Can you provide instructions either through voice or just written communication?
So this is a great question. There are functions to provide voice memos. So for example, you can upload voice memos and have them be analyzed. I will say they don't really work yet. It is a function that was just recently added. I have tried it. It's, in my opinion, not worth your time yet. It is being developed, but again, this technology is very new. So for now, I would say stick to the text until that gets updated, but I can also share with Beth a newsletter that gives information about all the new things that get added to the AI platform so that you can always get information about new features that you can access.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'll be sending out an email later today with a link to the post-training survey, and I'll wait to send that out so that I can include resources from Antonella. And then also the recording will be up on our website later this week or next week. Antonella, just looking through the chat, lots of people just saying thank you so much. Excellent information. They're excited to give this a try. Yeah. Wonderful. So any last minute questions? If not, we hope very much to see you at our next session today at 11 o'clock. Some more online resources looking at TABE online updates. Excellent. All right. Thank you, everyone. Antonella, thank you again. We can see in the chat how useful this session was. So thank you for sharing your time and expertise with us. And everyone else, I hope to see everyone throughout our sessions today.
Thank you again for having me. I hope you all have a great day. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.